Hello there, and today's video we're going to be talking about how teams, and that's not necessarily just athletic teams, any group that is working together as a team, how they can improve their performance through emotional intelligence. So stay tuned as we discuss that in this video. So for teams to have high emotional intelligence, which is what we're talking about developing in this video, we'll be talking about self-awareness and empathy and emotional regulation and social skills, all those factors we've discussed in other videos, but in the context of being a more productive team. So stay tuned as we delve into that topic. And so the first step in building emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So it begins with the individual. So oftentimes it will begin with a leader who needs to be self-aware, but then you need to help create self-awareness amongst your staff, amongst the team members, amongst the people who are working. And then that kind of filters out. So kind of build an example of this. In one of the school districts I worked in, we had a new leader come in, a new principal come in, who was replacing one who was quite removed. In the stress among staff, a high turnover rate, they had no respect for the former leader. And one of the first things that the new principal did coming in our staff meetings, was have us break up into smaller groups and beginning to do some of these exercises around our awareness. What are some of the triggers we're having? What are we feeling? What are some of the emotions we're feeling on a daily basis? What's starting that? And it was not only informative for us, it was informative for him as he's beginning to try to figure out, all right, what's the cause of some of the stress and the anxiety and all the issues within the staff, so that he can begin to address it. But for us, becoming aware of that was the first step, as he also would then implement part of his programming for us, was how we can then develop that emotional intelligence, that self-awareness that's then going to build the emotional intelligence in us so we can work better as a staff. So that was one of the first things he did, and it was very effective. So another thing, again, begins with leadership, but in that leadership begins to translate what the leader knows down to the team. So the same principle, right? I'll tell you, his ability to be empathetic, or human connection, and some of that comes with empathy. But this was my first meeting with the principal, right? Knew he was hired, never met him, never knew who he was. I was in early, just before schools get to start, and I'm down in the office having a conversation with the secretary, and in walks the new principal, comes to the door and says, "Hi, Chuck, how you doing? How was your summer?" I started having a conversation. He called me by name, and I'd never met the man before. What do you think that did for me? Instant connection. In other conversations that he had with staff members as he's coming into his new leadership role, conversations trying to find out where we're at, how we're going, what our goals are, what our objectives, what our biggest fears and concerns, how he could help. Good, short, to the point conversations where he's connecting and he's understanding and listening. He's showing empathy for our positions and what we're doing. He was an outstanding leader. So again, with emotional intelligence, productivity for a team, then the team needs to begin to get on board with being able to regulate their own emotions. So having opportunities for your team members to learn ways and strategies, tools for doing that, and not just applying the knowledge, but helping them build the habits, is crucial. And trying to figure out how to do that can be a challenge, depending on the organizational structure that you have. But that's one of those things that our new principal did when I was at that school system, right? He had us in our staff meetings, in the regular team meetings. So the school was broken up into 8th grade teams and 7th grade teams. So within those teams, some of the meetings that they have are things that they just need to do on a regular basis, but kind of dictated from the top down was, these are some activities I want you guys to do to start your meetings, right? These are some things I want you to do on a weekly basis and even on a daily basis on your own if you aren't meeting in a group. And it's activities like just some mindfulness things, a little bit of breath work, sharing out what's going on, how you guys feeling, what's some of the stress triggers, how can we help work through that. That whole process of talking it out, developing some of the simple ideas of like mindfulness or breath work can help you then begin to manage your own emotions and your emotional regulation. It's a powerful thing. And when the whole team's bought into it, from experience, wow, that's all I can say. So the other thing great teams do is they build internal motivation in the individuals. That internal motivation for the individuals is aligned with the motivation of the team, right? So with that alignment, everybody's on board, reaching for a common objective, but it's not coming from outside, it's coming from within the person. That has tremendous power in the ability for goals to be achieved and moving together for the team. So again, this principal did part of that, right? He's, in his conversations with us, he has dictated, all right, these are kind of the goals that you guys have all said and shared with me, the challenges that you were feeling and experiencing, which means we've got these goals that are going to help us meet those challenges so that we can meet the objectives of the district as a whole. But here in this building, this is what we're going to prioritize. This is what you can do, right? So now all of a sudden, he's aligning what we want, what we said we wanted anyways, with the goals, and he's showing how those goals line up with really what the district goals is and what we're going to have for a building and how we're going to work on bringing the culture, shifting the culture of that school building. And he's lining that with what we kind of said and what we feel internally, what we've shared on an individual basis, and then he's giving us regular check-in points, regular, like, let's break it down, how are we going to get there? And we, as a individual, we meet within our teams, and then as a building as a whole on a regular basis to kind of checkpoints, keep track, where we at, how we're doing, what's preventing us from being better, these conversations, the empathy, all of it working together to align us and move us forward. And it makes the fulfillment of going into an environment like this so much better. So lastly, social skills, right? And it's just understanding how we communicate with each other, right? Understanding that words mean something, our body language says things. When we're frustrated, when we are experiencing emotional stress or the emotion of stress, we don't always communicate as well. Having teammates that can help pick us up, help kind of reframe us, interrupt some patterns is powerful to keep us out of that kind of that downward spiral that we can get sucked into when things might not be going well on the periphery of our lives, right? Outside of that, the team aspect. Again, it begins with leadership, and it's teaching us, things like the classic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. A simple book like that leader, principal, referred to often, recommended that we read it. We share pieces from that as staff. We talk about how that's working, implement it with our students, understanding all the other things we talk about with emotional intelligence. All of those things compound, they come together into this idea of building social skills and connection, exercises on how to build rapport, right? How you can match and mirror and use techniques to really quickly kind of disarm a student who's maybe spiraling out of control with each other. If we see, a teacher's obviously got some things going on, how we might be able to help that person. All that ties into the social skills, and when it's running well and the systems are in place, once again, I have one 3-letter word. Wow. What a difference it makes. We just came to the end of yet another video, and I encourage you to check out other videos. In particular, you might want to check out the video, How to Boost Emotional Intelligence in Preschoolers. And of course, if you would subscribe to our channel, that will help us drive the traffic in here so that people who need to hear these videos, these messages, will be more likely to find them. And of course, you can share a video too. I'd love that. Comment, do all those things. But most importantly, come back and check out another.